Hey guys, it's 007, and here today we're going to talk about the Viggen and basically some of the other arching examples within the upcoming direct hit dev server and what it's going to translate to the patch. Briefly, I just want to thank everyone that's supported the channel, via the comments, via subscriptions, via Twitch and everything. It's really been appreciated what you guys do and all that. I really enjoy interfacing with you guys. It really is it's really a neat thing, meeting people, whether it's around the world and all that, or of various different points of the game. You get to, experience what those individuals, their perspectives, and I really enjoy hearing them talk about, the content, and, it really helps, I think both parties get excited for the game. But, without further ado, we'll just get right into it. So I wanted to talk about the JA37 primarily in this video, and we'll go forward, with some of the other aircraft. I'll talk in a little more detail. This video should probably be around 11 minutes. You should have figured that out probably by the time the video came into your feed. It'll probably tell you that. But let's talk initially with my position on the JA37, the Viggen. I personally think this is going to be one of the best aircraft in the game. Right out of the gate. It's going to have the best missiles in the game. It's going to have incredible flight performance. It has a very powerful engine, even in the stock format. It is a very, very capable aircraft. Stability is there. Various flight performances. I was always curious with regards to these flaps. You can see me messing around with them. How the canards would work. More or less, in the stability and point of lift is what I found out, obviously. But obviously they also did the audio as well. But I want to get forward and talk about the fact that I think this aircraft, like I said, is going to be the best. Probably one of the best aircraft in the game, from an all-round point of view. I would also like to gauge with the fact that a lot of people on Reddit seem to think that this aircraft is going to be absolute garbage because of the fact that it doesn't have flares. That I've been hearing people that are armchair analysts on Reddit telling people and myself that this aircraft won't do well on top tier because it doesn't have flares. And honestly, to those people, I'd honestly like to see you fly the aircraft, or actually fly any of the other aircraft that don't really have flares, and actually fly the aircraft well, and then understand what really the situation is. Maybe I need to stream more. Maybe I need to put up more videos of aircraft that don't have flares, because I think the reality would surprise them with how well it performs. And I'm not going to get into the debate of, the best players versus the average players. That's another video, if people want to talk about that. But I think that people really can't talk about aircraft if they don't have them or they haven't operated them. So let's just put that under the bridge and go forward with it. We'll talk about the various aspects of this aircraft. This is a stock format aircraft, so you see stock performance. Things will be better than this when it comes to flying. Flight model not final, because obviously it's work in progress, so keep that in mind. I really think that this aircraft is going to do really well. And I know one of the big questions on everyone's lips, when it comes to this aircraft is, can it do a Cobra? And yes, in fact, it can technically do a Cobra. It can achieve that 110-degree pitch, largely, at very, very, very low speeds, I must say, though. It can't really achieve that angle of attack at any higher speeds. I think around 230 is where it's achieving its Cobra maneuver. Probably even a little bit underneath that. But definitely an aircraft to keep in mind. It's not going to be your first move. It's going to be your last resort. But I'm going to talk about various other things with this aircraft. You're going to see the various aspects with it. Honestly, the biggest thing that you're going to understand about this JA37 when it comes to watching this video, one of the biggest attributes you're going to see with this aircraft is how incredibly powerful this thing is, and hammerheads. That's where this aircraft's going to sell tickets. This thing is going to be the late game. I'm going to push you around because you're out of options and I'm not aircraft. Incredible thrust to weight ratio. You know, I was sitting there just watching this thing just climb, and not even dissipate its energy to the amounts that other aircraft do. It has the thrust, I think, of the 104s is probably accurate, but it has the flight agility performance of that of, I'd say, right between the, like right around the Mirage and the Draken. Like, it's in that, you know, ability of generating angle attack. But like I said right here, you're just going to see how this thing can just play around. And there's another comment I think I'll have to talk about. One thing that should be really important, and I think this needs to go forward when it comes to this aircraft transitioning out of the dev server into the live server. I personally am not a fan of this aircraft actually having the reverse thruster being able to be used in mid-flight. I think that's something that should be available to it when it lands. You know, I think the reverse thruster is going to be too overpowered. If you ever watch this thing decelerate, especially in level flight, it's literally more damaging than what a Cobra could ever do, because it will allow this aircraft to perform in a linear sense to its opponent, but still be able to just throw the brakes on him. And I don't think that's going to be very appropriate with regards to the game. I don't think that's very historically optimized, especially where Gaijin tries to stand. And gameplay orientation, it's going to be very favorable to the J37. So I think that's a key point. I want to put that on my soapbox there so people understand. I don't think that should fly. The idea of it having the reverse thruster in midair, that's going to be a very, very overpowered asset that it doesn't need. Like I said, flying attributes, it's incredibly stable. Going to achieve some really good AOA. And I honestly think that this aircraft is, it's going to be dominant. Like I said, this whole, you know, splurge of people online talking about aircraft needing flares, and I had the same exact issue when I had made the video about the Crusader. People were leveling at me that the Crusader was a bad aircraft because it didn't have flares. You know, and I just don't understand how these people can come out and say that stuff, and then, you know, I'll sit there and stand on my, you know, record of the Crusader and show off a 3-to-1 kill to death ratio. You know, you guys have my name in game. You can look it up. You know, that's a statistic that doesn't disappear. You know, that's something you can't dispute. I find that the aircraft is good, and you know, people will challenge me on the fact that because they're not performing well with the aircraft, therefore the aircraft's not good. You know, that's just something I find incredibly ridiculous. And I just don't like that premise that people generate against aircraft. Just because it doesn't perform well with them, you know, that means that the statistics are skewed to those respects. So, once again, J37, like I said, I don't have the upgrades for it. I'm going to talk about that briefly. The iteration that Gaijin did with the War Thunder dev server was an absolutely brutal patch. At least position, what they chose to work off of. Literally, probably 80% of the aircraft that they added the last patch that I had acquired, because I pretty much have every aircraft in the game. They basically said I didn't have I haven't acquired it. And literally, that is just one of the most ridiculous things, in my opinion. That the idea that I physically can't test some of these aircraft out because they just reset the clock on them and basically said, you know, you're on square one. You never, you know, got past go. Don't collect $200. You know, that's ridiculous to me. That really cuts into my ability to really do anything. It really denies my ability to give my expertise and my opinion on these various vehicles. So I consider that incredibly unfortunate, and I'm really, really disappointed that that was the circumstance that had befallen me. I will briefly talk about the MiG-23, or sorry, MiG-27, basically MiG-23. I'm very excited for that. I think Russia needed a optimized ground attacker that had the ability for ground attack with regards to guns. There should be a clip that we'll have here in the background. I don't have it currently here for the editing phase, or the recording phase, I should say. But like, there should be some audio and all that. You should see the guns firing and everything. It looks really, really good. I'm excited to see how that plays out. I'm not so sure it's going to do much in the air superiority things. You know, it's a MiG-23, and I'll have a video talking about that. MiG-27, I think, is going to do very well with regards to its mission. That's about it. I think that Gaijin adding flares for the MiG-21 MF and the SMT, you know, whether that's historical or gameplay, you know, that's something that we need to talk about. I think that deserves some ground. Like I said, in my opinion, I don't think aircraft that didn't have flares should get flares. I know there were people talking about that on Reddit, you know, the iterations of the Viggen and what it had. So I really think that that stuff should be talked about. I want to just go forward and just say that this next patch will definitely be interesting. I can't say I'm fully excited for it, as previous patches have been. I think it's nice to see that various countries are getting some aircraft that'll run out their tech trees. And I honestly hope that we see more content come for this patch. I think that more aircraft are definitely on the way, and various other vehicles are on the way as well. And that should be something that we're ready for. Going beyond that, I think that we should be excited for what's coming. I just don't think that we're fully there yet with regards to that content, as I said before. But like I said, there's a lot of questions to be asked, in my opinion, with regards to this next patch. I don't think it's going to be a destructive patch in any respect, but things are definitely going to be interesting. I'm very excited personally for the Crusaders. I think that France getting a Crusader will be really nice. I've talked to people that have flown those in the dev server. They're very excited for them. You know, I know a guy that's never flown the Crusader before off the American tech tree, and he had a shot at flying it. He was excited. He really thought that the aircraft was, I mean, he's excited for it. Just the energy retention and everything, he was very, very excited about, which I think is very good. I think that more Crusaders in the game, and I think more people that can understand the Crusaders will greatly contribute to its image in the game. And I hope that it continues to improve and people embrace it for what it is. I really hope so. If people want to talk about the premiums, I'd be happy to talk about that in more detail in the description, or the comment section, sorry. I think that would be a good place to dialogue on that. I don't think there's enough time really to talk about them. I like to just talk about them external to the video and talk about whether it's worth it or not for you, and obviously more detail with that. I just, like I said, it's been a large wrench in this whole observation process of trying to figure out what would be a good way to define and assess these aircraft, and these various vehicles, but I just have not had that opportunity. Like I said, Gaijin really, really screwed me over with regards to the iteration that they chose. It really is unfortunate. I would have liked to test a lot of this stuff out and give my 2 cents on it, but unfortunately I cannot get that 2 cents. So I know we've overshot the time a little bit, but I really honestly feel it's stuff that I need to comment on. But if you guys have any questions with regards to the patch, with regards to air, I can sure talk about that stuff. If you have any questions about the ground forces, I'll definitely try and talk about that stuff. Naval, I don't think there's really much to talk about that, except some of the ships they're adding. But I'm definitely open for dialogue. I think that we need to dialogue on some of the stuff and talk about it, whether it's aspects of the patch itself or the ethics within the game. There needs to be some conversation about it. I definitely would support that. But beyond further ado, I really appreciate the support you guys have given, and I really hope to see you guys out there. I'll definitely be on the Discord if you guys are on that. I've been hanging out with the subscribers and various people that have supported the content, and I really do enjoy playing with them and talking with them. It's really neat, like I said, to get to know them, you know, see where they are in the world, what they think of the game, and how they're doing in life. So yeah, I'll catch you guys later. See ya.